Holden Advisors is excited to share this new interview series featuring revenue enablement leaders. The series is by enablement for enablement. Highly skilled enablement leaders from around the world will share best practices, lessons learned, and tips that will be helpful not only for enablement, but also for sales leaders who want a second voice. To participate in the series, you can reach out to Erica Summers through LinkedIn or through the Sales Enablement Society. Welcome to this episode of the Sales Enablement interview series. Today, I am really excited to have Hollie Graham Caldwell with me, who's a Senior Director of Sales Enablement at Oracle. Welcome, Hollie.
Hi, welcome, or thank you, Erica. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm super excited to have you. As you know, this is a series by enablement leaders for folks trying to get started or get into leadership and enablement. And I'm just really excited to have your experience on the call today. So tell me a little bit about your role at Oracle.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So I am actually a part of the sales excellence team. So at Oracle, we've got strategy, go-to-market, operations, and all of that encompasses sales excellence, and our enablement lives in that ecosystem. So I'm part of sales excellence, and my particular specialty and the team that I lead is the launch and engagement. So we work on program launches and adoption. So I'm not delivering a lot of content or developing a lot of content, but after the enablement folks develop great programs and they want to launch them out to the field, my team takes over and we build amazing launch plans and work on helping those folks get maximum engagement and maximum adoption and impact of those programs.
Okay, so you're thinking about a lot of change management and adoption.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, great.
Which is different from me from my past. I mean, at my previous role, I had the end-to-end in sales enablement. So it's nice to be able to, with Oracle, we have a very large team, a lot of resources, which is great, that you get to specialize and really think about all aspects of the journey for the learner. So I'm excited to be able to be a part of that.
That's great. So you hinted at this, but talk to us a little bit about Oracle's overall structure. Is it a centralized function? Is it decentralized? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, Oracle is interesting because we have actually a couple layers of enablement at Oracle. So it's so large that we do have a centralized enablement function outside of my group that handles all of the standard sales and partner content. So how Oracle operates, all of the maybe softer skills, things like that are, done by our Oracle Sales and Partner Academy. So that's the standard enablement that everyone at Oracle gets. Every seller at Oracle gets content from them. We dive deeper because I'm part of North America Applications Division. So those are SaaS products, software products for just the North America area, geo. So we've got a little bit more of a deep dive into the, our particular methodology, our particular processes, all of those types of activities we handle the enablement for, and obviously the adoption and impact measuring for those.
Okay,
so that team, like I said, that sales excellence team handles that click down after the standard Oracle sales.
Okay, that's really helpful. So Hollie, I saw in your background that you actually come from marketing. So talk to me a little bit about how you made the transition from marketing to sales enablement and what that's meant for you.
Yeah, no, it's kind of interesting. I think what I've learned over the years there are a lot of different roles that can morph into the sales enablement area. And so over my career, I started in marketing and communications, a lot of engagement type of roles, but I was always centered around education. So I came up into tech through Teradata. I was there for 12 years and I worked in their customer education area. So we were delivering training for customers and I was doing the marketing. So I was working with a lot of sales folks to help them, understand the ROI for their customers so that they would sell, buy our education products. So I always had an education spin over everything I've done through my career, but that's kind of where it all started. And then I joined Infor and, got into some different roles with higher education and universities. Again, doing a lot of marketing, communications, and engagement with stakeholders and really a lot of program management type of activities. And then moved into our, Infor's education arm of the business. And that's where I started to get a lot more enablement experience, but I was still doing, basically campaigns for our enablement programs. So it was an easy switch to get from developing campaigns to get people to take classes, engage in our content, and really, drive that engagement to, well, you might as well just take over the development as well. So that's kind of how it started for me. And really, I haven't been in the space that long, about 5 or 6 years. But a lot has changed in that time and I've learned a lot for sure. But it is I thought it was kind of an easy switch or going into enablement from the roles that I've had before, just because education and learning has always been a part of my career. So it was an easy transition.
It's interesting. You mentioned campaigns, and you and I have talked previously about change management and this ongoing repetition. It's, to me, thinking about the way you approach change management and sales enablement, you're trying to change behavior, attitudes, these things, and it is a campaign. It's just an internal campaign. And so the way you set it up, the way you manage that, so I can totally see how that's a natural transition. So tell me, what's one of your biggest lessons learned since leading sales enablement?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to really listen to your constituents. Especially in, the last year, I've been doing a lot of adoption measuring. And as we all know, if the people that you're trying to give your training to or your program to aren't invested or heard, it's much, much more difficult to get them on board after the fact. So listening and really hearing the sales point of view, the leadership point of view in the development phase or the requirements gathering phase of whatever program you're doing is like the surefire way to help successfully adopt whatever you're trying to do. So I know it's a simple thing, but a lot of times people get agendas and they may come from, the president or the CEO or someone up on high. But really leveling that with what does sales have to say about that? The people on the street that are you're actually going to be measuring what they're doing. And you've got to make those connections so that everyone's on the same page.
That is sage advice. Still, I hear at sales enablement conferences and just gatherings of folks, one of the most common questions that I get is, how do we get salespeople to do this stuff? And I think, who sponsored this?
Yes.
How many things are you asking them to do? What is this? We often don't think about the what's in it for me for salespeople. And to your point, really have to take the time to do that and to make the case that this is worthwhile, but also to prioritize the asks on the field, because in a large organization at any given time, you've got dozens of asks. So plus, sell, bring in money.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, establishing firm, hours or boundaries for enablement, if you will, helps in my experience as well. So we try to keep that number, to that number. So if it's 20 hours a quarter or 40, whatever it is for you, but really setting a standard there so that we're not inundating them. They have time to sell, and that way their management works, better with our team when they understand that they're being heard and that their wishes are being respected.
I love that. Hollie, what do you wish someone would have told you when you first got into this space?
That's a great question. And I was thinking about it a little bit because you did send them over to me ahead of time, which was really nice of you. But I think the biggest thing for me was, after I reflected a bit, was building solid frameworks and methodologies. We're often flying and building at the same time in technology. Things change so rapidly. But if you have a solid framework by which you operate your organization, your team, or a methodology by which you run your department, it really helps keep things more streamlined, and you have operating guidelines that everyone knows about and everyone should follow. So, after my last couple of roles, being in, high, fast-paced technology organizations, tech's changing all the time, the go-to-market's changing all the time. Like, I rely on those frameworks so much. So, having intake when you get a request in, being able to be, ask the right questions. So you don't have to go back to a requester 27 times to get the information you need. Like, have that framework by which to build, know what you're going to measure together, figure that out, how you're going to measure the success of this program, how you're going to get people on board and, get it communicated out into the market, etc. Like, it sounds simple, but a lot of times you get things flung over the wall and people are very reactionary when it comes from an executive. But it's like, stop, listen, where's your intake? Where's your framework? Let's be thoughtful about how we're creating things.
I could not agree with you more. Having structure in the midst of chaos is incredibly important. But to your point, I think intake is such a critical part of what we do, helping to prioritize and really helping to understand, because there are so many people trying to help sellers sell that you often have requests coming in constantly, from everywhere. And so just really understanding, what is this thing? What does it connect to? And what's the priority to the business and to sales? Just critically important to get your hands around. So I love that you called that out.
Yep, absolutely agree.
All right, so I'm going to throw in a random question, because a lot of folks are planning for the start of the year sales kickoff or national sales meeting. Lots of people are thinking about that right now. What's the best sales kickoff experience that you personally have had?
And this was a tough one for me because I've not been in sales. I'm one of those enablement people that does not have a sales background. So I've actually never been to an in-person SKO. Yeah, I know. I've delivered several SKOs, but all mostly virtual. And so I would say I've had some really great virtual experiences, and it makes me very and because I've never been in person, I've always been on the remote side of sitting into an SKO. It makes me very, deliberate about how we engage our remote audiences. But I would say, one of the best SKO experiences I've ever had was when I took over enablement at Infor. It was right in the heart of COVID, right before COVID, and we had to pivot our SKO plans to a completely remote, and we just were able to mobilize, and I think we delivered something like 80 different sessions for all of our different audiences remotely. It was an amazing experience as a leader of the team to be able to pull everyone together and execute something so massive for us. I mean, for Infor at the time, with a small team, that was a massive thing that we had to do. And we just really pulled together and were able to, to deliver a great experience. We got good feedback. People were, obviously upset that it wasn't in person, but the feedback overall was really, really positive for actually being all virtual on a platform, developing a platform, all the content, and the interactivity that we were able to build into it, with like very little, lead time. So,
Oh my goodness, we'll all have scars and awards from that time, pivoting to virtual in the midst of COVID, and it just speaks to the innovation and the skill set of these teams to be able to do that.
I will say though, this year I did not get to go to SCO at Oracle, but it was one of the best run, and the content was amazing. We had great customer presentations, which is always a challenge. I know that. Trying to get customers to come in and really connect the dots for our sellers. So I was super impressed with this year's NAA Oracle kickoff, just for the amount of customer engagement that we had, which speaks a lot for the Oracle brand, and with their customers, or our customers, really step up and lead them, which is awesome.
That's fantastic. I will tell you that being a veteran of many sales kickoffs, by far the most important in-person thing you need to know, whether you're attending or you're running one, is to really think about your shoes. It's important.
Yeah. Lots of conferences. I've done lots of conferences, but never in person.
So
but
important.
These are very important. I agree with that.
So Hollie, tell us what's an accomplishment and enablement that you're really proud of, or that you're proud that your team has accomplished.
Yeah. Well, I would have said that SCO, because that was a big one. But there's a couple things. I think really, I mentioned it earlier, but building a solid framework for intake and program execution, documenting that and socializing that. It sounds simple, but it's some people don't like process. So getting socialization and adoption of a process like that is sometimes difficult in an organization. So I would say that is something that I was very proud of in the last couple of roles, was being able to have an organization that ran very with a foundation of process and framework and intake that worked really well. The other thing is just a simple one is at Infor, I rebuilt our entire onboarding program. So when I inherited the role, we were doing basically just a boot camp, virtual, sometimes in person. And I kind of picked that all apart and rebuilt our entire onboarding program from the ground up, which I was super proud of that. The team really pulled together to rethink and reimagine how we onboard our new sellers. So that was a great one too.
I love that. That's always a challenge, is addressing ramp time and trying to balance the need for them to get out in the field and get exposure versus learn what they need and stage things appropriately over time in their journey when they need them. So I can imagine that undertaking.
Exactly. And really building that in, because like I mentioned before, it was a week-long boot camp, and then there you go, you're done. Well, really, you're not done. So let's rethink this and make it something that goes across a longer time, cycle, so that you're learning as you're on the job, rather than just getting a fire hose of information that you're going to forget 80% of it when you leave that week, right? So really keep the drip going, keep the learning going. It was, some of the principles were also manager involvement and mentoring and onboarding, and how important that is, because as we know, our FLMs are so busy, but we need them to be able to mentor our new hires. So building in a program with our managers to help, shepherd them along this journey as well.
I think that's a great point. And it's, just the delineation of what's expected from the frontline manager versus the onboarding team versus HR, who's playing what role, because, if you're not really explicit with that, and I know you're a structure and process person, but if you're not really clear, things fall between the cracks because folks assume somebody else has got that.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. I mean, and some managers have their own, they're really good and they're on top of things and they have their own system and they have a new hire and they do all of these great things, but some don't. So it was well, what are the great managers doing? What can we pull and centralize that and standardize that across, so it was a lot of interviewing and getting people on board and getting that, mind share and people on having a voice into what they're doing. Because again, they feel like enablement comes from on high, and they don't have a say in it. It makes it much more difficult for us who are trying to, actually change behavior.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you've mentioned a couple of times while we were talking that things have changed in enablement. So
yeah.
Share some of that with me. What have you seen and changed since you started in enablement?
Good one. Well, I did mention, boot camp for a week. Who's been to boot camp for a week? A lot of people. And it still exists, I know, out there, but it does not at Oracle. So we don't do that.
Sure.
But the shift obviously from classroom training or boot camp training to a lot more on demand, just in time learning, for sure, obviously. And we're embracing that with things like this, the podcasts and snippets built into our products, into our tools that we use, lots of different methods for enabling that. But the other really exciting thing, I think I was at the Sales Enablement Society conference last year, and I met the president of Second Nature, which is a tool that uses AI in their enablement. And I think obviously the role of AI is expanding, and just seeing some of the exciting things that, their learning pitch bot, Jenny, is doing to be able to have a conversation via AI, and then score your pitch based on certain factors. Like, that's incredible. And we're so excited to see, where AI goes in the future in learning and enablement. But we're just scratching the surface on that.
I could not be more excited about that. I know right now there's a lot of hype and we're waiting on substance, but it's starting to evolve. And one of the things that we're doing at Holden that I'm really excited about are these AI role plays to help sellers practice their sales skills, whether it's negotiation or discovery or whatever. And as AI evolves, it's just, we're going to get better and better at this.
Absolutely.
So.
I know, I'm very excited by it. I saw that demo and I thought this is really cool. So excited.
Really cool stuff. I know, technology people, keep it coming. All right. So Hollie, I think there are going to be so many folks that get a lot of value out of your wisdom and your learnings. So tell us, what are you focused on for personal growth in 2023?
This is a good question. Because I just went through our year end was at the end of May. And so we just personally went through our evaluations and self-evaluations. So I've been thinking about this, which is great. But I think for me, documentation still continues to be something that I strive to grow and develop in. I talk a lot about processes and frameworks, and it's so important. I think, being at a multi-layered organization like Oracle with, it's a challenge just within our own team to document all of our processes, asks, what we're doing, timing, etc. So really, I want to focus on getting my team better at communicating and documenting our roadmaps where we're going, what we're doing, and how we're, affecting different organizations within our own org.
It's a struggle, because if you've got a team and you've got a mentality that's focused on let's go, let's accomplish things,
Yep.
you're action driven. And so taking the time to actually document the wins, right? It's usually like, oh, that was awesome, we're on to the next thing,
Yep.
versus marketing your own team's success and promoting some of that stuff internally. I know that can be a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Documentation. It's the year of documentation and execution for us at Oracle.
I love it. Good luck with that. I personally think documentation is the least fun, but you definitely have to do it. Thank you so much, Hollie, for your candor, for your humor. Just really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity, Erica, and I can't wait to see what else comes out of this new podcast series.
All right. Thank you. Talk to you soon.